Hello friends, welcome to Youth for Resistance-SOD. My name is Ted Hardesty, and today I will basically just be telling you about the news that's happened over the last 2 days, and what this may mean for our country. Now normally, I'd like to make a video on a certain topic pertaining to Trump, and that was my whole plan for this YouTube channel, you know. Each day I come up with a new topic as to why he's not a good president, as to why he's against democracy in general. But it appears that Donald Trump and the FBI have done my job for me. If you haven't been watching the news, let me just fill you in real quick. Yesterday, news was broken by first the Washington Post and the next the New York Times that Trump released declassified information, and then gave it to Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Ambassador Kislyak of the Russian Federation. He declassified our information and just handed it over to the Russians. Now, you're going to be wondering what kind of information was this. Now, that's not known. Obviously, it was classified. We're not going to be able to get it, the exact documents. But it was said it had to do with ISIS. It had to do with some kind of plot. And the guess they can make on television, on the news, and from the New York Post. Not the New York Post, sorry. That's actually a very conservative site. The Washington Post is that it had to do with the laptop ban. Let me tell you why that's bad. If you give that information to Russia, who's friends with Russia? Who's allies with Russia? Iran and Syria, who are affiliated with different terrorist organizations. If they know who gave that information up, if they can find that information from the U.S., they can trace back that source and take out that source, possibly putting our people at risk, either actual Americans or our allies. That could happen. 2, you could have the terrorists accelerate their actions, which means we could have a terrorist attack or an attempt at a terrorist attack the next few days. And 3rd, countries or certain individuals will not trust the United States and will not give information to them that could help us fight ISIS. And the Post reports that Trump basically just waved it in the air, not the actual paper, but like waved it in front of the Russians' noses that, look what I have. How else do I say this? How incompetent can you be? You just look, it's like a 5-year-old. Oh, look what I have. But you're the president. I am beyond disgusted at this point. But I have to inform you of what just happened. Now, most of you probably know what I'm talking about with the Russians. Or the Russians' news from yesterday. This you might not know yet. It's just important for the last 3 hours, I believe, that there is a memo written by James Comey that Donald Trump asked him to cut out the investigation on Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn specifically. The reason it was written is because apparently I didn't know this, but it's common practice for FBI agents to write down a conversation they had if they think it's important to an investigation. And Comey wrote down in a memo, sorry, I'm checking the news on my phone, because this story's breaking really quickly, and if something happens, I want to be able to share it to you. But I also want to quote the Washington Post report that says that Comey put in his memo, "I hope you can let this one go," which is what Trump said to Comey about the Russian probe, or the Michael Flynn probe. Let me bring up a term. Obstruction of justice. How do I phrase this? I don't know how what Trump did is not the definition of obstruction of justice, unless you can go as far as, bribing someone or threatening them. Basically dropping a hint of, you should just let this one go, because, you want to do it for yourself. You're not actually threatening the person, but there's something else there. And then Comey's let go, and Trump blames on how he treated Hillary Clinton. Who are we kidding here? Really, guys, come on now. This man is covering it up. He's trying to cover up every part of this, and he's failing. And here's the problem. No longer are we just dealing with a guy who maybe doesn't seem that smart, who may be making decisions that, don't seem that presidential. He's covering his ass up about about an investigation of him getting help from a foreign power and an adversary of ours. Let me just make that clear. Russia is not our friend. You want to know what happens? Okay, you want evidence of that? Go through reports and figure out all the different political enemies of Vladimir Putin. Where are they now? They're 6 feet under. Anybody who crosses Vladimir Putin is in the ground. He's not a person of democracy. Hates democracy. He's a former KGB agent of the Soviet Union. And Trump just gave information to them. Not to Putin directly, but Lavrov works for Putin. Of course, Putin's going to get that information. Or know about that information. Let's put this on a span of how bad this could be. Lowest scale. He's totally incompetent. He doesn't know what he's doing. He just declassified information and handed it to Russians. And he goes, "Oh, my bad, I didn't know I did that." Really? And that's what some of the Republicans are trying to say. I think it's a great defense. Trump put out a tweet. I like to quote people because it's more accurate than a tweet. But Trump put out a tweet asking if Obama could be removed for gross incompetence. Question stands for you too, Donald Trump. But on a higher scale, if you take all this to the extreme, which I have been for the last month, I don't think it's a stretch to do this anymore. He fed information to Russians, and whenever someone was getting close to the Russians, he cut them off. That this man could have literally committed treason. I make 2 calls. 1, a special prosecutor must be put down in Congress. Let me phrase it another way. Must be appointed by Congress. Number 2, all workings in Washington, D.C. that are not critical to the movement of our government must be stopped until we figure out what happened. We are in a crisis nationally now. No doubt about it. We can't sit by and just watch this happen. Democracy might be slipping through our fingers. And I can tell you for one, I'm not going to stand here and just watch it fall away. I'm going to fight. And I ask you to do the same. And tell your friends that don't watch the media, that don't listen to this stuff, that if there's one day out of the year that you need to be watching the news, it's today. Because, simply put, if you're an American, if you're anyone who lives on planet Earth, you need to know this. The greatest democracy in the world is now at risk. God bless. God bless the United States of America. Talk to you later.